Welcome to Real World. Today I want to talk about episode 4, which I feel was the best of the series so far. There's a lot to unpack here, so let's get started. This episode had very few lighter moments, but most of them came at the beginning when Rhaenyra was reviewing all the suitors at Storm's End. What I took most out of this, though, wasn't those funnier scenes, but a big mistake that Rhaenyra made. She proceeded to insult a number of the key houses in the realm, and she wants to be queen of the Seven Kingdoms one day, but she's so unnecessarily creating a lot of bad blood. Perhaps some of this is Viserys'S fault. Maybe he didn't properly coach her, explaining how important it was to let these people down easy and not alienate key houses. Either way, though, it was bad. And I think it also plays into something that happens a little bit later in the episode, which I'll get to. The return of Damon was interesting because at the beginning, he was very conciliatory and respectful to his brother. I think he had some ulterior motives, but Viserys was happy with it. In fact, I don't think we've seen Viserys in a better mood before. He was just beaming when they were outside. He was talking about old times with Damon, joking around. Unfortunately, it was going to be very short lived. When Rhaenyra had Damon alone for the first time, she asked him an important question. She wondered why he had returned to King's Landing, and he deflected a bit, and he didn't really answer to her satisfaction. And I think that's because the answer is that he had returned for her. See, I believe that Damon is contemplating all of this from afar. He's watching as Rhaenyra's just running through all these suitors and not choosing anyone. He's always had a close bond with her. He also does want the throne. It's like this dual nature here. And then he decides he's going to return to King's Landing and see what's going on. My interpretation of what Damon's plan was when they went out to the brothel was that he was trying to force the situation. He wanted them to be seen so that word would spread, and he wanted to also be with Rhaenyra, but that part of it he ended up backing out of. He had second thoughts. See, he's always yielded to her, at least from what we've seen. At Dragonstone, when he gave her the egg, she's the one person that kind of gets in the way of his own plans and desires. Rhaenyra sort of has this power over him. I felt that after that, he just went and got drunk. I mean, even the next day when he was dragged before Viserys, he was not in good shape. And then in the state that he was in, he just reverted to his original plan and told Viserys that he should just marry Rhaenyra. His whole scheme is just ridiculous, too. Everything that Damon does is just reckless and dangerous and chaotic. Look at the suicidal plan that he had to go at the crab feeder. He sort of brought that type of strategy in here, and it was a mess. Rhaenyra, for her part, has some similarities with Damon. After he abandons her at the brothel, she comes back, makes the mistake of hooking up with Kristen Cole. In Fire and Blood, where this story came from, there was a lot of rumor, innuendo that was going on about what Rhaenyra was up to, the trips to the brothels, Damon, what was her relationship with Kristen Cole. Were a lot of different elements that were going on, and the truth that they presented from the show side, I thought was really well done because it thread the needle so that you have what the facts actually were. But the rumors and innuendos that were in the books, you can see where they had gotten legs and where people would have believed them. So I thought that the showrunners did a really great job of presenting that. There's one last thing that I want to touch on about Ranira'S Night Out with Damon. They stumbled on that play, and Rhaenyra was upset that people weren't going to accept her as queen. And she wanted to sort of discount that. Like, I don't care what the people think. And Damon, to his credit, pointed out that she needed to. And this correlates for me too with what happened at the beginning of the episode when the suitors were coming in. And then she was cutting down these people and offending some of these houses. This is a real weakness for her in her ability to connect with people. not just the common people, but then just some of the people that she needs to have on her side to rule. Speaking of ruling, it was good to see Viserys finally wielding his power as king and not allowing himself to be manipulated. He showed real backbone first with Damon and then with Otto. My favorite moment of the episode was when he let him go his hand, and so much was going on in that scene. Viserys just laid it all out on the table. He not only let Otto know that he saw through all his manipulations, but he even went so far as to charge that he suspected Otto of killing his father. I mean, that just came way out of left field. It's just something to really think about and then dig into a little bit at another time. I like the evolution of Viserys' character because it was really earned. In the last episode, they showed you a few scenes where it looked like he was beginning to turn a little bit, that he had had enough of everything that was going on. And one of those key scenes was when Otto had turned to him and suggested that Rhaenyra marry the 2-year-old Aegon. And Viserys just laughed out loud and he just saw the idiocy of it all. So I think the seeds for Viserys' big change in this episode were shown previously. And Rhaenyra showed that she had learned how to leverage some of her own power. After Viserys had drawn the line and said that she had to marry Laenor Velaryon, she then pivoted and made a move on Otto, which eventually led to him becoming removed his hand. There was just one small thing for me in this episode, and that was the relationship between Alicent and Rhaenyra. It seemed a little abrupt how they had them back as friends again. For me, it felt like they needed a bridge scene to get them to this point where they were somewhat close again, but not a big thing. Anyway, I thought this was a great episode, the best of the season so far. Lots of political intrigue going on, and we're set up really nicely for the next phase of the story. I give King of the Narrow Sea a 9 out of 10. So that's it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. If you want more House of the Dragon content, listen to Caraxes and subscribe. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next video.